Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, James.
Happy New Year, Edward.
Happy New Year, James.
Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, Ed.
And a Happy New Year.
How are you? Aren't you glad it's over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can I say something?
Yeah, what?
This year, I basically pretended it didn't exist.
Really?
I went basically 10 days. I didn't go anywhere. I went out one night and watched some football games and drank with some guys. But other than that...
That sounds like a pretty good Christmas.
I hate to admit it, but Mr. Scrooge, I was...
Oh, shit.
Nothing.
Why?
No turkey, nothing.
No coal in your stocking?
I provided the lump of coal for everyone.
Interesting.
Quite the...
Yeah, while you were enjoying yourself in your little man cave up there in London, Ontario, I was busy getting sick as a dog. Yeah. No, actually, it goes more like this. Seriously, I was barking like a seal.
Did your dogs...
No, my dogs went away for Christmas. I stayed home and barked like a seal. And there's some weird irony, universal interaction, twisty thingy going on there. But anyways, Ed...
Well, I watched things for... and I noticed some marijuana stocks are getting some pretty good bids here this year.
Yeah.
Like I see
this year.
Well, this year being...
Year to date, they're up.
This year, Organigram, I think, was up 90 cents this morning at one point.
Well, everything's up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a real smart thing here. Theoretically, technically, maybe. I'm going to pull up the old Midas Letter chart.
Yeah.
Oh, Ed, pull it up. Pull up, Ed, pull up.
You know what? I'm going to do it right now. I should have been ready.
I spent almost 10 days not thinking about cannabis. Not smoking cannabis.
Yeah.
I would say not ingesting CBDs, but I actually made sure I stuck to that program. And then here I am in Carmel, California, and the day I leave, I get home, I drink a bottle of wine, and wham!
You get nailed.
I get pummeled by this.
Did you think you got it on the plane?
I had thought I must have got it on the plane because I had a woman who was barking like a seal right behind me into my back of my head, and I thought, well, that's it. I'm going to get whatever she's got.
What do you call a male seal or a female? Is a female seal a cow?
Yeah.
I think it is, isn't it?
And a male seal is a buck.
Yeah, same with whales too, right? Like they call the female whale is a cow, isn't it?
No, the female whale is a...
Whoa.
we got a pretty interesting show here. I'm going to try to make it through the show without choking on my phlegm. We've got, of course, Ricky is going to read us the news, and then we're going to talk to Todd Harrison at CB1 Capital down in the U.S.
We've talked to him before.
We have, and we're going to talk to Alan Brochstein over there in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk to a couple of the viewers about some of their pretty good questions. Then we're going to riff a bit on the market close. And then Sean Cookson is going to join us at 4:05 with the segment on Cannabis Beer.
I know
Canna
that
Beer.
guy. Sean.
Yeah, he's going to be a regular feature this year. He does, close by, one might argue. And then, the guy who's at the center of all the attention in the cannabis brewing space, Dooma Wendschuh, the head of Province Brands, is going to be with us via Skype from Ile de Madeleine, out there in the middle of the Gulf of St. Lawrence, where the weather is freaking foul. You thought it was foul here? It's not foul here. Do you know how much snow they got? Do you know they closed half of Newfoundland yesterday because they got 22 centimeters in like 12 hours? And they're getting another 28 centimeters tonight?
Well,
I don't know. Brutal. Brutal. That's the cannabis industry for you.
Brutal.
Brutal.
That's not to be confused with Brutus.
Or bridal, which can be brutal as well.
A2 Brute? No. What is it? A2 Brute.
A2 Brute.
And you also, Brutus, you piece of shit.
What do you got against Brutus suddenly?
No, because he turned on
Titus?
On Caesar.
Oh, Brutus.
And A2 Brute.
Oh.
And you, my dear friend, you piece of shit.
Boy, Ed, I don't know. It sounds like
I'm a little,
So did you drink a lot over Christmas?
No. I bought when I got to London, and I had, but by the way, I haven't missed a show. I only missed one show since September the 15th.
Really?
One. Just one.
Sounds like you're bucking for a raise or
something. No. But I wanted to say,
Have you made any money from being on the show?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm quietly putting away
Squirreling away? For the rainy day?
Buck here, buck there.
Buck here, a buck there, a buck everywhere. Buck, old MacDonald had a farm. You know what? Enough of this nonsense. Here's the news.
Thanks, and here are the headlines moving markets today. Cannex Capital Holdings Inc. released their financial results for the second fiscal quarter of 2019, ending on October 31st, 2018. Financial highlights include net income for the period of just under $700,000 and a revenue increase of 223% to $3 million in Q2 2019 compared to $1.8 million in Q2 2018. Sol Global Investments Corp. Announced an investment in and strategic partnership with European medical cannabis company GreenLight Pharmaceuticals Limited. GreenLight was founded in 2014 and is headquartered in Dublin, Ireland. It's a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with a clinical research and development component. Under the terms of the transaction, Sol Global will acquire a 25% stake in the equity of GreenLight for 1.8 million euros with an option to increase its stake to 51%. The Supreme Cannabis Company reported that as of calendar year end, 7 Acres has 19 completed flowering rooms and is on track for all 25 flowering rooms to be completed in March 2019. Once completed, 7 Acres will have a greenhouse footprint of approximately 300,000 square feet, with the total facility reaching over 440,000 square feet. Supreme Cannabis expects 7 Acres to reach its estimated annual output of 50,000 kilograms by the middle of the calendar year 2019. Agriflora Organics International Inc. revealed that Propagation Services Canada has executed its first propagation supply agreement with Alta Sun Samson Holdings Corp. Samson is a wholly owned subsidiary of CB1 Holdings Corp., and the agreement calls for Propagation Services Canada to supply high CBD cannabis plants for a 5-acre outdoor grow operation near Edmonton, Alberta. Lit Cannabis Corp. Announced that Marfarm Washington LLC executed a letter of intent with a Canadian company that has developed biospherical systems to control and enhance cannabis cultivation. Marfarm Washington is a wholly owned subsidiary of Lit Cannabis Corp. The agreement includes commissioning and warranty of their equipment and future service required to facilitate operations. The predetermined value of the systems is approximately $7.5 million US. And that's your news for today.
There's
lots of news going on, and lots of
the new news.
Tell me about what's going on here.
What's going on where?
Between Aphria and GGB. What's going on there? What's going on?
You want me to tell you what I really think is going on?
No, tell me, make up some bullshit.
Okay,
like you normally do.
That I can do.
Like you normally do. You know,
what's going on there?
No one knows whether you're bullshitting or telling the truth. Or with you never know, right? Just do that.
Okay.
You're really good at it.
Well,
no, I'm kidding.
No, I know.
Kidding.
I know.
No, I don't know. I hear.
Well,
I hear.
You look at the offer. Okay,
it's
here's
another.
the thing. You got GGB saying they're going to make a buy for this thing, $11 a share, and they're going to raise money, $300 million at $7 a share to do it. It's like their stock's trading at $4.50. Since you made the announcement, you got it up to $5. It dropped to $4.50. If I'm Anson Funds or Cap, and I'm sitting here listening to these jokers saying, "Yeah, we're going to go out and raise money at $7, and your stock's at $4.50," guess what? Guess what stock I'm shorting today? I'm shorting the shit out of that one because I know that if they've got to come up with this buy if this deal goes through, and no matter what, they're going to be having to cover me at whatever price I choose, as hard as I can short, as low down as I can beat that sucker. I'm going to do it. Now, on the Aphria side,
yeah.
And this was a very good point made by Alan, which he will make for himself, I'm sure, a little later. It's like $11 a share. That's just
that's $11 a share, which is
slap in the face with the thing that swings between your legs and slaps your legs around normally. I mean, that's just
that's $11, but
that's $11.
That's
the stock was $21.
But it's a paper deal.
Paper
deal.
Paper.
So they need to get their stock to 7 to do it at 11. Because that's the ratio.
And they got to raise the money. They got to raise money at $7 a share. Also.
Oh, Look at this. These guys on TV are talking about it. Oh, that's us. Aphria. I thought, shit. Oh, why I look so much younger. That's a tape delay.
Why I bark like a seal.
So is that why I look younger there, because it's a tape delay by about 5 seconds?
Probably. You are just a few minutes younger there.
This is how I used to look.
That's right. Milliseconds
Same
ago.
with you, though.
I know. But look at it. Look at me now. Look at me now. NBI is working, Ed. So why don't you pull up a chart on Aphria and let's see what the stock is telling us about that $11 off.
Okay, I got a couple things to say about this.
Oh boy, here we go. What do you got to say about it, Ed?
I got to say...
You just going to be making some shit up too, or you actually got some
as I normally
intel?
do. I always seem to be able to make something up.
I'll believe it when I hear it.
Okay, so here we go. 814 up 20.
Oh, okay.
Up 28 cents.
Okay, so the market's starting to believe this by the looks of things.
No, we've done this before, and I'm just going to put up a 3-month chart. And what I want to draw the viewer's attention to here. Oh, screen sketch. There's where we go. Here we go.
Sketchy.
Okay,
so
then remember the report came out. Big gap there. It cratered that day.
Yeah.
The following day. So 1, 2, 3 unbelievable days, monster volume, and then we had a cover rally.
Well, I call it a cover rally. That was the Napoleon Bonaparte short report, right?
Right here. Yeah. This is where it came out.
Heidelberg. Heidelberg. When was the last time you had a Heidelberg?
I was kind of hoping that would be real soon. I was kind of hoping that...
I don't think they sell Heidelberg anymore, do they?
I thought the fridge would be... I'm bringing some Heidelberg in tomorrow. So back to... Look, this was the high of the first day trade.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right there.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
It hasn't gotten back to that high. In other words, it dropped all the way down to 4 and change or whatever, through the Bollinger Band, and we had a big counter move all the way up to 850.
So are you saying that the Aphria shareholders should be looking at this as like put me out of my misery bed?
You know what?
Thank God. Take me away. Take me to the Undertaker. Bring out your dad. Bring out your dad.
Lots of, most times, gaps get filled in my world.
Gaps get filled.
Like here's a gap here.
Ooh, that sounds like a proverbial proverb.
I know. I've been watching too much
Look,
adult
what are you drawing snowmen now? Look at what the hell is going on here. But look at
these gaps got filled, but this one doesn't. If this gap doesn't get filled, this could be like a rollover top.
What the hell?
Look at that.
Some fancy graphics.
Look at that. That looks like some guy standing outside there ready to...
Tuck-ta-yuck-tuck.
I could probably sell this for some kind of Inuit art or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. It looks like an Inukshuk. Up in Tuck-ta-yuck-tuck.
Yeah, what's the word for a boat? It's not kayak, but the other one, oniakio or something.
Oh, canoe?
I don't know. No, canoe. I know how to say canoe.
You know how to say canoe.
Okay, so look, I don't like the fact that they can't fill that gap.
No way.
So far.
All right.
But look at it, it's up dramatically, but I just think as time goes on, and let's look at Organigram.
Yeah.
What's the ticker of that one?
OGI.
Look at this thing. Look at this action today. Is that CNX or C?
CNX, yeah. No, OGI is not CNX. Yeah. OGI
now look
is
at this move.
TSX. What?
Look at this. Where are we here? Okay, there we go. Look at that move. This thing was down to 420.
I knew I should have bought more.
And it hit 570 today. 420 to 570.
Think there's a buy coming?
Well, that's what you got to ask yourself in these things, because the good ones are going to get swallowed up.
Well, this is what I think is going to happen to Organigram.
This is a good company.
Organigram's probably, in terms of like the pharmaceutical category of cannabis companies, Organigram is run by a guy who used to run a pharmaceutical company, comes from that industry, has repurposed and retooled, and I mean, we've been there. We've seen how sparkling clean the thing is, how it's overbuilt.
Runs like a top.
Well, you know, that's all. I've always had a problem with that analogy. Runs like a top, spins like a top. If it runs like a top, how could it spin like a top? Spin like a top, to me, is not something you want your company to be doing. I'm going
to give this a lot of thought tonight.
And we'll pick up that conversation.
And what I like about this chart, back to the chart, the control room, please. This bottom here, let's get back here. This bottom here has held. It tested it here, and then look at 1, 2, 3, 4 days later, up about 50%.
All right, let's pull in our friend Todd Harrison here, who is joining us live today from New York State. Todd, are you with us there? There he is. Hi, Todd.
Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you gentlemen doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Trying to get my noodle back in the game after barking up half of my lung from some pestilence I got while down on the coast of California there. I don't know what's going on. How are you doing?
Better than that. Yeah, whatever that means. I'm glad I don't have it. But no, it's good. Happy for the new year.
Yeah, happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Todd, we were just discussing the Aphria and Green Growth Brands transaction, and I was wondering if you had any participation in it, first of all. And if yes, then let's hear about that. And what's your expectation for the outcome of this takeover offer, which it's being suggested in certain circles that is not as arm's length as it is being portrayed to be?
Yeah, so we have positions in both. Green Growth, we built a bit of a position. Aphria, we've had a trading position. We talked about it last time I was on your show, playing it through calls. We think the assets are worth probably double what the stock price is worth right now. I don't have any insight on Green Growth and the inside track there. I think there's a lot of shorts that are spreading rumors. We're just looking at, from an asset standpoint, we think Afria's got some value. And playing that through defined risk. And Green Growth, we like the management and we like the backing, and certainly an aggressive move, but with Aphria down here, who can blame them for trying to get it at that price?
You bet. Okay, so do you think that Aphria shareholders are going to tender to that offer, though?
I don't know. Like I said, we think the assets alone are probably worth 2x what the stock price is worth, but certainly reputational damage has been done. Be interesting to hear that retort from the company that was promised a while back. But again, it's a New York Stock Exchange company. You can't expect them to get into a Twitter war over the future of their company. So this is the big leagues. This is where the adults come to play. So hopefully they're going to continue to operate in a manner consistent with the New York Stock Exchange listed company.
You bet. And so all this weakness that we saw at the end of Q4 2018 in the cannabis space, largely driven by global macroeconomic weakness. What do you see happening in the few innings of 2019 in terms of all that?
Yeah, certainly the macro landscape hasn't helped, but I think there was a fair amount of tax loss selling. I mean, we saw it. It was pretty aggressive. I mean, a lot of these names, you have to remember, the global cannabis proxy that we follow had two separate 50% plus downdrafts in 2018. That's pretty amazing. Ended the year about 55% lower. So a lot of tax loss selling into year end, and a lot of these things are quite illiquid. And you couple that with the retail ownership. Again, a lot of institutions haven't entered the space yet, particularly on the U.S. side. So you see this outsized move to the downside, we think exacerbated by tax loss selling. So to see this move today is not all that surprising. We still think Canada, needs a couple of quarters to sort of build out and get its footing under it. But with this sort of declines that we've seen, a lot of that's probably baked in. Still think the U.S. is where you want to be, and still think biotech's going to probably be the next kind of phase higher as these clinical trials start to come through the pipe this year.
You bet. Do you see the issue with, and it's just, I ask this because we don't really understand the implications from Canada with the federal government in a partial shutdown mode as a result of the disagreement between the president and the Democrats. If that persists, and is it something that you see likely to persist, but if it does persist, is that got any long-term implications for cannabis industry performance? And if it's not going to persist, what's going to bring a resolution, and what does that imply for longer-term cannabis performance?
Well, certainly because of the way it's shut down and the DEA still being up and operating, there is that risk that you're going to have some sort of crackdown. But we think that's going to be more about the illegal operations. We think the FDA also is going to come and crack down on a lot of claims and a lot of the labels and what a lot of these manufacturers are claiming, right? It's going to be a lot like vitamins and supplements. It's what you can claim. So we think there's going to be a lot of regulation. We actually think that's a good thing as the industry starts to take shape. But looking forward, obviously, a lot of the catalysts that we're looking for going into the new year surrounds things like banking reform. So you need a government that's actually up and running to move these things forward. And so over the longer this lasts, the less positive or potentially more negative it would be for the cannabis space.
Sure. And what about the bigger macroeconomic picture globally? I mean, certainly the trade war with China is sort of the recurring theme. Brexit, a recurring theme. Where do you see the whole macroeconomic picture evolving toward going forward, especially as it pertains to global interest rates?
Well, I mean, I think it was the last time we were on, we were talking about how I look at the world a bit holistically and go through these charts of all these countries, and I go through the charts of all the sectors within the U.S. space. And what struck me was really the synchronized swim lower. Like a lot of these charts all broke. And I'm talking China, I'm talking Germany, I'm talking the stocks, I'm talking the home builders. So, and this has been taking place for a few months now. So, in the broader macroeconomics, through that lens, I think that there's going to be some rough sledding. But it's interesting to note, it's sort of the mirror image from last year. Remember last year at this time, we saw crypto ripping, we saw cannabis ripping, we saw equities ripping, and everybody was real bullish, and we saw how that ended. This year, we see everything sort of cratering, and everybody's sort of expecting a bear market and looking forward with a lot of negativity. So maybe we see some upside surprises this year. Maybe not in the macro side, but I do think it's going to be a big year for cannabis.
Great. Okay. And the price of gold has been rallying quite strongly throughout the last quarter of 2018 and into the new year. Is that got implications? Does that scare you at all? Does that have any bearing whatsoever on your thinking, planning, et cetera?
It doesn't really factor into how we're looking at the world. I've had a trading relationship with gold for a long time, but it's not a core position. I just think, people talk about it as being a defensive play. I agree insofar that it's a rock, and if you get into trouble, you could hit somebody with it. But I don't necessarily look at it as an investment asset. It's not so, I know I'm talking to Canadians here, so I'm probably going to get slapped around, but we just think there's better opportunities there. And with that said, gold will probably rip about 1,000 points by the next time I'm on your show.
Yeah, you bet.
Todd, from where you sit in New York, are there a lot of private companies waiting to go public in the marijuana space that you know of, that you hear this company's coming public, or is that window relatively closed right now because of the market conditions?
No, it's a great question. We saw this heading into the fourth quarter. With all the MSOs that listed, obviously you saw it happen at Curaleaf and Acreage and Cresco and Harvest. A lot of these things came in 50%, right? Got cut in half from their RTO prices, and I think that really spooked the market. There's a lot of paper that's out there. For our money, like we own those stocks that I just mentioned, and we use price to our advantage to add more. We're looking at sort of our projections and our internal research on what we think they're going to do in revenues in 2019 and 2020, and we can make the case that as long as they execute, that they're cheap here. But there is a lot of paper that's waiting to come public, and I know there's a lot of bankers that are waiting for market conditions to improve before this paper will come public. But again, remember where we are in the cycle. It's so early in the cycle right now that institutions still can't participate on the U.S. side. So a lot of that demand is on the horizon, in our opinion. And as that starts to come through over the course of the next year or so, we think that the markets are going to lubricate and open on up, and we're going to see a lot of good companies come to market and trade through a public domain. Again, we look at the public side because that's how institutions are going to articulate their investment strategy in cannabis going forward, right? We think Putnam, Fidelity, Vanguard, all these guys are going to come in. They're going to have to take a position as a growth hedge, especially with what we're seeing in tech and the slowdown. There's not that many places where you can see growth, and we think cannabis is certainly one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Todd, during the holidays, we heard that, or just before the holidays rather, we heard that Tilray had really solidified its relationship with Novartis. And we didn't really get the reaction in Tilray's stock that we expected. And I'm wondering, do you think that might be somewhat symptomatic of investor fatigue, or at least investor caution in the face of the proliferation of non-performing IPOs in the final part of 2018?
Certainly, one of the things, I've been on the street 30 years, and the reaction to news is always more important than the news itself. And you could look at the Kronos and Altria deal and the muted reaction there. And we sort of looked at each other and said, uh-oh, if this isn't going to sort of spark the tape, what's it going to take? But again, into year end, I think there was a lot of forced selling. There was a lot of tax loss harvesting, and that's behind us now. I think that we're going to continue to see deals coming through, obviously. Tilray, Novartis, they're each ponying up some money. It's a little bit of a different dynamic. And of course, you have this lockup stock that everybody knows is coming in the coming months. So I don't know. I still think Tilray is sort of, I think it's done a lot of damage to the psychology surrounding cannabis. And it's not a name that we own or want to own here. We think there's a lot of better companies. You mentioned Organigram as one of our positions. We think Greg's great. We think the biosynthetic side is great, and we think the brand is terrific. So names like that over names like Tilray, I think, make a lot of sense here.
So Todd, like you mentioned Organigram, and I looked at it earlier. Why all of a sudden? And I've been around this game for decades, yep. and I'm asking this kind of rhetorically, but why all of a sudden today does this thing get a bid? The last few days have been pretty good. It's up 50% in a week, isn't it? Like almost.
Yeah, but it's not alone. There are other names that have popped. But you're also looking at the stock that's down 50% in the last, since October, right? So it's all relative, right? It's up about $1.50, but it was down about $4 or $5.
Yeah.
So again, I think a lot of it's tax selling moving out of the way and tax loss harvesting moving out of the way.
Sure.
I think the analysts who do cover this stock, certainly look at it as one of the names that should be attractive based on their management, based on the biosynthetics, based on the brand. But there's a handful of names like that out there that we think are becoming more attractive, obviously as a function of price and looking forward, starting to nibble a little bit more on the Canadian side of the equation to supplement our U.S. holdings, our Australian holdings, and our biotech holdings.
Great, Todd. Well, amazing contribution as usual. We really appreciate your insight. We'll come back to you next week. Thanks for joining us today.
Yep, thank you. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Todd. Happy New Year.
God, I love Todd's mind. I wish my mind worked like that. It looked like a steel trap.
James, I kind of wish your mind worked like that too.
It would be so much wealthier.
We agree.
We agree. Oh, boy. That's almost where the dance around the table right there.
That's like the time I thought I made a mistake, and I made a mistake once. I thought I was wrong.
Turns out you had made a mistake. You were right, after all.
Yeah, and hence my Anyway, Look. This Tilray. I think but one of the things is there's a lot of paper coming due. No, like a lot of paper.
Well, all of the restricted paper that they've. I don't want to say, actually. I know there is restricted paper that is becoming free trading. I thought that it was actually November that blocks of this restricted stock began to trade, which is, I think, why we saw the rather sustained revaluation to the downside that has now set a new sort of level at $70-ish, we'll call it. So that's the first blush. I think that there's a lot more coming in January, and the question is, while Tilray presently has sustained a valuation that is higher than Canopy Growth's temporarily, arguably, is that going to be sustainable going into 2019, given that they've got all this sort of pent-up selling pressure?
And it is one issue that came out at 17 and it's trading at 70. Like, duh.
Right.
How can you be unhappy?
Right. But important to keep in mind the dynamics of the structure that prevented it from performing as other stocks normally would. I mean, all of the financing that went into this thing as a private company, none of it has had the ability to trade. But also the investors who put in all the money, none of those are guys who are looking to make their fortune in the cannabis industry. These are all
people who have
Silicon Valley guys who are, it's like, I'll write a check for that. Let me know when I should sell it. It's not like.
You know what? I had a call from a guy a few months ago, and he asked me to put money into a 10-cent marijuana deal. You know what deal that turned out to be?
Which one?
GGB.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and I never put any money in.
How do you feel about that move?
Not very good.
No? Why not?
Because
you lost out.
I could have had an extra couple
$100,000 by now. Yeah, I know. Well, hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah. Anyway, money doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
We all know that.
It makes me very happy. What makes me unhappy is not having any money. That makes me very unhappy.
Really?
So I'm not.
So if you're smiling, could that be a disguise? Could you be really unhappy when you're laughing?
When you're smiling.
Like right now, for instance, you look very happy.
Well, I'm an idiot. So
maybe
what do you expect? I've just lost half of my position last year, and I'm still smiling. There you go. Proof positive. I should not be listened to. I'm essentially a gleeful moron.
The problem with fundamentals is that, like they don't. I've made this mistake a lot of times. You like a deal and you're right, but then technically things change, right? There's for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
And selling begets selling.
Selling begets selling.
I'm bigger. Well, I don't know what I am. Who knows?
Ed, you're like me. You're a happy moron.
Yeah.
We don't.
Jesus.
No, but it was quite the lesson, Q4 2018, for an investor, be it a retail investor or an institutional investor. How many institutional investors got their asses handed to them? You know who didn't get their asses handed to them was Anson Funds and Cap. Because they were the guys driving everything while taking advantage of the weakness in the market to support their short strategies and theories. Excellent job, guys. I'm going to start going short, I think. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, but you go short after a big move up.
Is that how it works?
I think so.
See, maybe I shouldn't go short, because if I don't even know how the game works, I should probably just stick to going long and be the exit strategy for all the short strategies. Yeah. I'll be like, why are these guys selling? I'm buying. They're just going like,
do you know that? Do you know over the holidays, XLY Oxley,
yes,
formerly Cannabis Wheaton,
yes,
got down to 60 cents.
Yeah.
And I think Monday or Friday of the last Monday or last Friday, it hit at 94.
No.
60 to 94.
Wow.
In about, I don't think it was more than 5 or 6 or 7 days. Currently around 90 last time I looked, and I haven't looked for a few hours. The point is, there's big moves here, and these moves somewhat don't look as big because of past performance. Like, if Tilray never got to 150 and it would just say it got to 100, or say it got to 90, and now it's 70, you'd say, unbelievable. But because it's gotten so high earlier, you don't look at it in the same light.
I mean, we're jaded. We're cynical because we've already seen much higher highs and much bigger swings that nothing impresses us anymore.
Say that again?
Sorry, don't make me laugh, Ed.
Okay.
People in the audience, kind people, thank you for your suggestions. Our social media driver suggested that they give me some advice for battling this cold flu / chest cold, and there's quite an array of suggestions here.
Stick your head in the toilet and flush it?
No, Ed, that's not for a chest cold.
Oh, that's for halitosis. Okay, here, Jerry Manning, hot toddy. Oh.
Okay, so Fred in Toronto wants everyone to know that the Tilray lockup ends on January 15th. So the next blush of stock comes out January 15th. That's probably why we aren't going to see much over. Boy, there's a stock for Anson and MMCap, but I wonder if MMCap put any money in.
I don't know if they can get any paper. Like maybe you can't borrow it, but of course they don't have to worry about that.
Pretty sure yeah, exactly. Naked short. Ed, what do you think? That's illegal or something?
Only for small fry.
Only for us idiots who go along.
Only for retail mopes.
It's mopes like us. Exactly.
Mopes.
So Jerry Manning is suggesting that I have a hot toddy, which is rum and hot water with a scoop of honey. Honey. Can I get a hot toddy, please? That sounds like a damn good thing.
Is a scoop And a dollop, the same thing? For instance, if
A scoop and a dollop?
a dollop of honey versus a scoop of honey, would that be the same size about?
Depends on the size of your scoop, honey.
No money, no honey.
No funny.
No funny.
No funny.
Okay.
All right. Alan Brochstein is going to join us right now.
Good.
Hey, Alan, how are you doing today?
Hey, great. Happy New Year, James.
Happy New Year to you as well. Alan, bit of the big news in the market right now is this Aphria Green Growth Brands tie-up, and I just wanted to get your 2 cents on it in the context of there's some suggestions that, once again, there are some questionable sort of things going on behind the scenes. People are suggesting that this is not, in fact, an arm's length hostile takeover, but rather a pre-agreed sort of situation as evidenced by some of the past relationships. What's your take on all of this?
It's definitely entertainment in a pretty quiet market, so we can all agree on that probably. So look, full disclosure, Green Growth Brands is a client of mine at New Cannabis Ventures. With that said, I haven't talked to them. I don't really have any insight. I've been observing them really, from the outside. And just based on the things that I've heard and read historically about the company, I don't see any reasons for concern about their intent. And I think their intent is good. With that said, I certainly don't understand the logic of the way they presented the offer. So that part I will agree, and calling it a $7 bid. But with that said, what attracted me to the company months ago, before I had a commercial relationship with them, was the backing of the Schottenstein family. And I know that the Schottenstein family thinks very highly of Aphria. And I don't think people really understand that so well. And I've been reading the press releases, and the last press release that came out on Monday evening was that the Schottensteins don't have any direct investment in Aphria. So that may or may not, I guess that's true, right? But they're certainly very close. And, for your listeners, it should be clear, the Schottensteins partnered with Aphria for that Ohio application. And then they kind of transferred it to Liberty. And and it was won. So, there is that small business, but Aphria's, the only connection Aphria has to that, from my understanding, is through the option that they have to buy back the Liberty shares. So there's no direct connection there. So I don't want to say that Green Growth Brands was trying to just do a publicity stunt. I think that that's a nice byproduct. Just my read of the way people have reacted. Nobody knew who Green Growth Brands was. And, there's been a whole bunch of new multi-state operators that have come public in the last 3 or 4 months. And, you and I have talked about, a lot of them are down substantially. In fact, that one's gone up even before they announced the deal. And I think the reason is people kind of like the story that they're telling, which is you have the Schottenstein backing and you have a lot of retail experience. And so, I'm not going to say whether or not this is a good investment, because I don't really know. I honestly don't. It's not something that's really gotten my attention from that perspective yet, but all these little connections, this is the way Canada is. You're up there, the way it is. It's not a big world up there. And so the fact that there's some overlap between Green Acres and the Schottensteins and Aphria and Green Growth, to me, is not that big of a deal. So with all that said, I think I don't see anything terribly negative in what's going on, but it doesn't seem very realistic at this point to me that Aphria shareholders would vote for this merger.
Right. And is that because, in your opinion, you concur with Aphria management's statement that this is opportunistic and undervalues the company?
Yeah, well, I would say I don't know if ultimately that will be correct, but I'd say that's the right assessment right now. I think, rightly, Aphria owes everybody an explanation. And the reason I say that is they said that they're going to issue this line-by-line rebuttal. And since then, all we've seen are these little press releases kind of justifying what they're doing in Latin America, some extension into Paraguay, something today, is not very substantive to me. So, I think in the long run, that is correct. I think I said to you a couple weeks ago that Aphria's Canadian operations justify the valuation right now. So with that said, I'm kind of on the sidelines on Aphria right now. I think it's a big drama. A lot of people get drawn to drama like moths to a flame. And I'm going to sidestep this one and just let it kind of play out. I think a lot of people are bag holders now. We just went through a season that was quite phenomenal. You and I have been talking about this over the last month, that people have been recognizing tax losses left and right. And so it's left a lot of opportunities right now. So for all the people that want to wade into the drama, go for it. I just think there's a lot of other things right now, whether you're north or south of the border, that right this moment are more compelling. But to your point, I don't know why, in general, at this price, at this transaction, Aphria shareholders would ever vote on this. Now, over time, maybe Green Growth Brands really starts to prove out what they're doing. They have a bunch of licenses they just picked up in Nevada. They just started operations in Massachusetts. And so, not to say that in the long run it wouldn't make sense, but just I don't think shareholders would approve this right now.
Right. I mean, from a Green Growth Brands shareholder's perspective, it's a very attractive proposition to get obviously one of the oldest and original ACMPR licensed producers, who's obviously got a fantastic production footprint in Canada. To have that as your initial supply source going into the branding phenomenon that is obviously Green Growth Brands' core expertise. To me, that I first heard about it, I thought, of course, that makes perfect sense. Very exciting.
It does make sense.
I can't wait to see how that plays out.
Well, so I think the bigger issue that people need to wrap their heads around, one of my big points for this year is things have really changed over the last 6 months. And, a year ago, people in Canada wanted to be in the United States, a little over a year ago. And then the parent of the Toronto Stock Exchange kind of put the kibosh on that. And then we saw Aphria, unfortunately, have to divest of Liberty. And we've seen other companies kind of step back and just say, when we can, we'll be in the United States. But for now, we value our TSX listing, and we don't want to give it up. So fast forward to where we are now, and the political environment in the United States has changed. We've seen a company, TerraSend, enter the United States. We've seen Canopy Growth come really close to entering the United States. They said they're going to with the passage of the Farm Act. And I have to say, so there's a huge value to having a New York Stock Exchange or a TSX listing. But with that said, the U.S. market is really what these guys are after. And I think after all these public deals that we've seen in the last few months, being on the CSE but being able to operate in the United States is a viable option. And a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Aphria should never do this to be a CSE listed company." Man, I bet if they could rewrite it, they would have just stayed on the CSE and been focused on the U.S. And I expect to see, and I'm having conversations with a lot of people in Canada about this, we're going to see LPs and MSOs in the United States hook up. And I don't know that Aphria is the right one. I will drop this news. I know for a fact that there is a operator in the United States that put in a bid, or I don't know if it's an official bid, but tried to put in a bid for Aphria. And so I don't think that's the right one. I think Aphria is big, but if you're a big MSO, here's why it makes sense in general, not to go after Aphria, but in general. If you are operating in the United States, you can only operate in the United States. You can't operate in the world. And as we know, north of the border, south of the border, across the oceans, things are happening. And so if you want to be, in the long run, a big global player, yes, your whole company is at risk because you're operating federally illegally. But if you're an MSO, you're already in that boat. You can buy a Canadian LP and now have the world at your fingertips, whether we're talking about Germany or any of the other areas that are developing. So I think things have changed a lot in the last year, and there's a high likelihood, in my view, that we'll see more LPs enter the United States or MSOs buy LPs in Canada. We're going to see that integration.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so what are the other big sort of macro picture things that you see happening in the cannabis space this year, Alan, at least in the first part of this year?
Well, so that's my biggest one. I think we're going to see consolidation that I just described. But in the United States, I think a couple of big picture things that I've been sharing. Number one, I think that we just had a huge buying opportunity. And it's not just in the US, but we saw all these deals come public. Everybody dumped after they broke. And so I think that early in the year, we're going to see a big rebound in some of the leading MSOs that have really fallen. And I don't even think you have to try too hard. Just pick one or two or three. You don't have to put a lot of thought into it, and you're going to do well in that concept. And I think also in the United States this year, we're going to see some legislation, most likely in Colorado and maybe in Michigan as well. These are very different states. Colorado is the most mature with big brands, big revenue. And then Michigan is up and coming. And in both those states, public companies cannot own the operators, but it's likely to change in both states this year. And it feeds into my other theme, which is we're going to see a lot more consolidation in the United States. And so that's going to be a big theme this year, and I think it gets started pretty early.
We've seen some weakness in some of the larger IPO companies that came to market in the last half of 2018. Curaleaf comes to mind, Acreage Holdings, MedMen, of course, the flagship super voting structure that everybody likes to hate. Do you think these super voting structures are going to become accepted in 2019? Do you think we're going to see more of them, or do you think that they're going to sort of go by the wayside as the managers realize that investors don't like these things?
So I think there's a big misperception out there. I don't think these companies do this because they want to. They do it because they have to. If you're a U.S. company and you want to go public in Canada and the insiders control the company, the only way to get it done is with this voting structure. And it's just a little loophole. So I get it. I've been focused on governance professionally for 2 decades. And it's not something that you want to see, these structures, but there's literally, from my understanding, no way around it. And so you had some of the early ones that came public, like Canna Royalty, which is changing its name to Origin House, and of course Ianthus, that didn't have this, but they didn't have the insiders. These were both companies that were funded with investors. They weren't big insider stakes. But then you had GTI and MedMen were really the first ones to come public last year, and every other deal since then has been structured the same way. And it's not because they're all playing golf and laughing about how they can screw over in the locker room, screwing over the investors. It's the way it has to be done, from what I understand.
That's the first I've heard of that. And if that's the case, then I guess I'll have to lay off the super voting structure angle of attack. But
I think there's other things to criticize, but I don't think that's one. But
okay.
But you're right; it should be questioned, and people should understand that.
Sure. Okay. So now looking at the rest of the world, ex of the United States and Canada, interesting that you point out the fact that if you are a U.S. operator, you can't operate anywhere else in the world. So that really kind of ring fences the potential of U.S. companies that are listed on the CSE, doesn't it? Because they can't actually access Europe or Eurasia or the South Pacific. So do you think,
if I'm understanding this correctly, if they buy a Canadian LP, then they can, and that's why I think we're going to see that.
I see.
I mean, I've talked to a lot of the CEOs about this in the last couple of weeks, and in some cases, my idea was novel to them, but I was happy to learn that some of them have kind of figured this out on their own as well.
Well, that's a relief, Alan. What company out there, can I ask you, excites you the most going into 2019?
So I'm not going to give you a specific company, but I will say I'll give you a bunch of them. All these MSOs that just went public, there may be one or two I don't care about, but the ones that went public from May until the end of the year, I think investors should look at those companies. Don't worry too much about which one. I think most all of them will do well. So that's the hint that I'll give, but there's not one in particular.
Right. Okay, Alan. Well, again, thank you so much for your input. We'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Sounds good. Take care, James.
Love that, Alan. Love me some Alan.
Look at this chart. Looks very bullish.
Yeah, which chart is that?
GE,
General Electric. I want to reference a couple.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. General Electric.
General Electric looks bullish here.
Never mind marijuana. Let's go with some old school finance company.
Bricks and mortar.
Bricks and mortar.
Where's Thomas Edison when you need him?
Boy. You know, that company used to actually make light bulbs.
Yeah.
They still do?
Can you imagine, though, if you never had a light, if you had candles, and all of a sudden they said, you know what? Put the candles away.
I want to point out briefly here, Edward, if you don't mind,
please do,
the cold remedy recommendation from our audience on YouTube that I like the best.
Okay, I want to hear this one.
And the gentleman who provided this cold remedy, his name's Ron Waller. And Ron, I want to thank you. If I had a prize for you, you would get it for this. He says that for my cold, I should crank up the hot tub as high as your goal. I should pour 4 fingers of whiskey over 3 ice cubes and get in the hot tub. Then I should soak an hour or so and sweat it out and repeat it until I feel better or I don't care. I think, Ron, I'm going to have to leave the show early today and take your advice.
Wow.
Does that sound like good advice?
And I'll tell you, if you do that a few times, you won't care.
Well, I can tell you, I'd not even need to get into a hot tub and I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Anyways, Alan made reference to some companies that he declined to name. And some audience members are wanting to know who the hell is he talking about. Now, so you notice that he said that some of the American companies that came out who don't have BAP'd out share structures yet nonetheless sold off by more than half in the first trading.
Yeah.
A very small universe, that one.
Well, I think, and did you notice the...
True Leaf, Cure Leaf, Acreage.
M-Jar.
M-Jardine.
M-Yardine?
M-Jardine.
Yardine.
M-Jardine. Yeah.
What's
Al Pacino wants to know what's...
Wait a minute, put it back up.
I think that was one of the things.
Can you get it back up?
What company is Alan referring to? Well, we don't know.
There's a few of them.
There's a few of them. And we can speculate, but I think...
M-Jardine had a big pop the other day.
Did it?
Big pop.
Damn, what did it go to?
Well, let's find out.
I was going to buy it.
M-Hardine?
M-Hardine.
Is that with an H?
Oh, Nika Domi from Mind Your Wealth is saying, James, take oil of oregano. Nika, I used to be religious on the oil of oregano, and then it didn't work for this one bad cold I had a few years ago. And gotta say that there's not much that tastes worse than oil of oregano in your mouth. I mean, there are, but in terms of when you're trying to cure yourself and you don't want anything remotely that in your mouth. WheatMD has shot up over the past few days, even when most others were doing poorly. Has anything changed? Does anyone know why? WheatMD is a great company. We just got our video guys out there.
It did go down, I thought, significantly, back to almost $1. And, a couple of years ago, I was sitting with Michael Kraft, and he was telling me about how I should get involved in this WheatMD.
Yeah.
And it was around 85, 90 cents. So I can only remember thinking, my God, it had a round trip from about...
Who?
Michael Kraft?
No. Who were you referencing when you said...
My God?
Yeah, who's that?
No, who?
Your God.
My God.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my God. That's my God.
Oh, your guy.
My God.
Oh, your God.
Yeah.
Is that like...
Yeah, well, you know what? I got my own little...
That's your betting strategy, isn't it, in the casino?
You know what? You bring him along, and you're almost... you're going to end
Snake eyes.
You're going to end up insane, because you're going to wonder why he isn't helping.
Okay, we got a question here up on the screen.
Okay.
Hey, guys. Happy New Year to the whole Midas Letter team. Can we talk about Biome Grow Inc? Bio.cn. Know you had Karam on a few times. Stock is going up on the OTC, but what's your overall feel on this company? Don't know it, don't own it, don't care. No, I know Karam's just as talented as they come and as dedicated as they come, and the people behind that company are very connected, and I think that it's just a matter of time till it delivers value. So I don't know specifics about it, that I follow it because, like I say, I don't own it, and so I don't know. Do you know anything about Biome Grow, Ed?
No, I do not, but I'm going to get the chart up here, if I could do that.
Yeah. Johnny Lance is wanting to know, Midas Letter, what's going on with Namaste? 30% gain today. Well, 30% in the context of the value that it's lost in the last quarter. It's you know, a lot of the stocks, if you look at almost any stock in the sector, it is starting to replace value lost in the tax loss selling and macroeconomic negativity of the last quarter. So, you know, I think you're going to see rebounds a bit
look at that
here.
move. Look at that move in Namaste.
But I would also point out that probably the guys who are short the market are enjoying an extended holiday this week and won't actually be back in the market till Monday. So don't hold your breath. Let's see what happens here after when next week gets started. And we've still got, you know, a lot of macroeconomic uncertainty, which governs the market overall at the end of the day. So again, we're in that funny week at the beginning of the year where us poor people who need to work for a living are back at work, but the guys who made off like bandits, are probably still enjoying boat drinks on white sand beaches down in the sun and not yet back.
Where would some of those beaches be, you think?
Well, I think that the Caribbean is a popular destination.
Is this where they got the jingle, Life is a Beach?
Life is a Beach. Where did that first come from? Life is a Beach. Wasn't that Jimmy Buffett?
I don't know.
First
I really don't know. I don't know.
James Taylor? Anyways,
I don't know.
I don't know either, eh? John McCoy says, we haven't heard much from Juju since the financing. Are they going to be on the show anytime soon? We will have Steve Gormley back on the show the next time he's in town. We are watching with bated breath as the stock struggles in the 8 to 10 cent range where they close the last tranche of the financing. We are cautiously optimistic that they're going to actually now execute on some of their business, and we'll see what happens there. Anthony Alvarez, holy shit. Hey, Anthony, how's it going? What are your thoughts on Ianthus and MPX merger? Will this create a powerhouse MSO? Well, I think that Ianthus already was a powerhouse MSO, multi-state operator, and I think that the acquisition of MPX's U.S. assets and bolting them on to the Ianthus assets is a big win for Ianthus. It was a small win for MPX shareholders, but we'll see. We've got to see how this market starts to play out in the first quarter here once everybody's back to work. Excuse me, I haven't been to the hot tub with my 4 fingers of whiskey yet.
Right.
But you know what, Ed? The
market's about to close.
So compared to the S&P, well, the S&P, what's the S&P doing, Ed?
The S&P is...
At the end of the day here.
We're going to take a look. Up 1 point. Wow. Now that you may say, big deal. It was down 40 points.
Ooh.
So yeah. So you know, just to, you know, we'll take a split second here, and I want to just, you know what I want to do?
He says, get Ed to show us a chart and make a prediction so we can all do the opposite.
Okay,
Ooh.
I got a prediction for you.
Give him one.
I got a prediction for you.
Give him one, Ed. Give him one, will ya?
All right.
Give him one.
Okay, I'll give you one.
No, not me. I don't want one.
That ain't gonna happen. You know what?
Oh, thank God.
You can only do so many things at once.
That's true, and I'm a little bit under the weather. So, though it would be easy, I don't recommend trying.
So look. We've got the
Give
S&P.
James a Ludens. I'm with you there, Glenn.
Here we go. This is the S&P. This is a daily over 1 month. There's the bottom. Nice big move, a very big move. That was on the day before Christmas.
Right.
The thing flew
all through the house.
Whew. And then we've been moving sideways. I think the next move, just saying. So if you guys want to go short the market, go ahead. But I think the next move's up. I think because things are so oversold. There was a guy yesterday, for instance, saying Apple is so cheap right now relative to every, and these are sophisticated guys.
Right.
But he says, I want to wait until it drops to 150, and then I'm going to buy it. I'm going to replace the stock he sold at 210.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are waiting. The money's out there.
Yeah.
Because somebody had to sell to take their money out for other guys to buy to go in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. And today, with the market was down 40 points, and then it was like oil. I thought oil was going to move Friday, and I thought it was going to move Monday. It moved today.
That's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Ding,
I'm
ding,
going to feel
ding,
in about an
ding.
hour after I drink about three shots of Jack Daniels.
Actually, that's how I'm going to feel after I drink about...
You know what?
What?
Drink some Jack Daniels is
Right
so
now?
good right now.
You got any?
Yeah. We got a little flask right here. Yeah.
Really? Well, come on, let's get with it,
You want
big
a little
fella.
nip?
Yeah, give me a little nip, and I'll take a little nip of that. Anyways, enough of that nonsense.
Okay,
We're
so the
doing a
market's
show. We're
closed.
doing
You
a
know
show.
what? I'm not doing any more trading today.
No? That's it? You're done for the day?
Yeah.
What about aftermarket? How do you trade the aftermarket? Anyways, there's a good topic.
Well, you can.
How?
You can.
Who? Where?
You have a full service account.
Yeah?
You can call up your broker, provided he's not in a bar already.
Watching the show.
Oh, that's okay. You better not be just drinking, with no purpose.
Right. As long as he's watching the show, it's all good.
Yeah.
Look, MedMen's almost back to its pre-financing price.
Jesus.
I know.
Is it really?
No.
What
No,
was
it's
that
still
price?
Wallings.
$520?
$450.
This is for $4.
No, $565.
And that was brought down from what, 7 and change, right?
Yeah. Six and a quarter, I think, was the original number.
7 and a quarter.
Give you $675.
Sold.
Deal.
Yeah, and so, by the way, the other thing that I've picked up or gleaned from various discussions from, financial types is that the odds of another rate increase appear to be almost zilch now, because they're saying that things have slowed down in the world. Like the 10-year rate, which was almost 320 a few months ago, is now down to like 265. At least it was 265 this morning. Let's see what it is right now. Let's take a look.
Survey says.
Okay.
This a lady named Shivet Ketostatics Bafanifi, what a great handle, says, somebody give me a reason to buy. What is it that everyone loves about Juju? And I can tell you from personal experience, Shivet Ketostatic Bafanifi, that we don't love Juju right now. We're very angry at Juju. We want it to go higher.
Okay.
And it hasn't been cooperating.
I will say, buy to the sounds of cannons, and I think you just heard some cannons.
Where?
Right here.
Oh.
You're saying, we're angry. Those are cannons. Those aren't bugles. That isn't harmony in an orchestra. So if you're going to buy it, probably buy it now because everybody's pissed off.
Are you making a recommendation?
No.
No.
Not me. I don't want to go to jail.
So I shouldn't buy it.
I'm not telling you what to do.
What are you going to do?
I'm sort of...
I'm still long the stock. I bought a bunch more when it started flirting with the 9-cent level. 10 cents. So I'm long, and I'm
wrong.
I'm not happy about it right now. I'm not happy.
Why are you
about it.
smiling? I thought when you're not
I
happy,
told
you got
I'm a
to
idiot.
like this.
Well, I'd have to stand on my head to achieve
Do
that
it.
effect, Ed. That's just how powerful an idiot my particular brand of idiocy is.
Yeah.
Anyways, MMJ. What do you know about MMJ?
MMJ.
Who are they again?
Yeah. Who is MMJ?
I think we have no opinion on MMJ.
That's not M. Hardeen.
No. MMJ is...
What is it?
I don't know. I can't
No,
remember.
I'm talking to the guy in my earpiece here. My codpiece.
Your codpiece.
What's
Take
a
your codpiece out of your ear, Ed. That's why it's not working. That's probably why your earpiece isn't working if it's where your codpiece should be. What is a codpiece?
He wants to go to somebody wants to go to the feature.
If I would get the flu shot, Faye Smith wants to know if I would get the flu shot. No bloody way, Faye. I will suffer in silence and solitude before I'll get a flu shot not because I'm afraid that vaccines create autism, but I believe that the vaccination of the herd is the first conditioned precedent to instigate a mutation in a virus to make it stronger and resistant to that which it vaccinates, that which effectively vaccinate against it. So I think the best thing to do is suffer through if you don't want to create stronger viruses in the whole big scheme of
I'm
things.
surprised that we've agreed on 2 things today.
What? What?
I wouldn't get a flu shot if my life depended on it.
Really? Why is that?
Well, I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because I have a very, very strong connection to the medical community.
Ooh.
And one day I was in the office getting some
Medical devices?
Whatever. And somebody in the office said, "Did you get your flu shot yet?" I said, "I'm not that fussy. I'm a pretty healthy guy, blah, blah, blah." So you got to get your flu shot. I got a flu shot, and by the time I got out of the office, I was sicker than a dog.
Really?
Because they're shooting you up with some kind of flu, right?
Well, theoretically,
Yeah,
inert version of
yeah, but not the one that's out there.
No.
Anyway,
Well,
so I won't mention any names, but this guy's a pretty smart guy in terms of his profession.
Okay.
Goes to everything. And I said, and he's always saying, "Did you get your flu shot? Did you get your flu shot?" I said, "By the way, do you get a flu shot?" He says, "No." So, it's maybe like a broker that tells his clients to buy a certain stock because he really likes it.
Yeah.
But maybe he doesn't buy it himself.
Well, there you go.
Whoa. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this flu shot thing. Anything that the government's behind?
No.
Okay, he's saying we got some coach in here.
Coach? I can't. Oh, my earpiece
feature.
fell out. My codpiece fell out of my ear. Feature. Oh, yeah.
Canna Beer?
Canna Beer.
Canna Beer?
What do you know about beer and cannabis, Ed?
Well, apparently you have to infuse the cannabis inside the beer.
Sean Cookson will tell us all about it.
Right now?
There's a lot of talk about infusing cannabis into beer, but what Province Brands is doing is pretty unique. Brewing a beer directly from the plant itself. And that's why I've come to Loyalist College, who is collaborating with Province Brands in developing a brew of the highest quality. I decided to cut to the chase and ask the hard questions like, why?
First of all, it hasn't ever been done, and second of all, because there's a lot of good things that can happen from doing it.
And also, how?
A traditionally infused product is brewed from malted barley, and then you actually infuse the different oils that you would want from the cannabis plant. What we do is we brew entirely from cannabis. So we take the actual cannabis plant, we break that down into a form that allows us to get fermentable sugars. And so the key there is our sugars come from cannabis, not from malted barley.
This has never been done before. Breaking down plants to make sugars has been done before, but not for consumption, not for food grade. So we have to take stuff that's been done on like the biofuel side and make it food grade. Basically start from almost nothing and making a tasteful beer.
What we do is we take a waste stream from the cannabis industry. At this point, it's a really cellulosic material. So the easiest thing to think about is like wood chips or something that you might use for mulch is kind of what it looks like. And then we start breaking that cellulose down. And when we start breaking the cellulose down, you're breaking something that's basically a polymer of glucose down into smaller chunks of glucose and then ultimately into the individual glucose molecule. And that's what the yeast really wants, is that individual glucose molecule. Rather than having our sugar come from malted barley, we're brewed from cannabis. And so our ingredients are cannabis, hops, water, and yeast.
But will cannabis beer go down well with the consumer? Wig. That means, well, I guess.
Well, I'm confident that it's going to be a hit. I think that it tastes great and it's something very unique and very different.
I've been brewing for several years, and if you look back at the history of brewing, it's really hard to say I'm brewing something that's never been brewed before because brewing's been around for 13,000 years. But it's nice to be able to say confidently now, I know I'm brewing something that's never been brewed before.
So it looks like we're gonna have to wait till sometime this year to actually try cannabis beer. Or will we? Because you can make your own cannabis beer if you'd like. So I've got my shake and I'm just gonna pour it into my beer. Give it a stir. That looks nice. And we're ready to go. Homemade cannabis beer. For Midas Letter Live, I'm Sean Cookson.
I gotta hand it to Sean. He's an inventive individual. There's no doubt about that. We attract inventive people around here.
Did he just buy himself a new drink?
No, he just made himself his own cannabis beer. But that segment we just did on Province Brands, right now, the CEO from Cannabis Brands, Dooma Wendschuh, is joining us live from Ile de Madeleine in the mouth of the St. Lawrence River. Dooma, how are you, my friend?
Fantastic. How are you?
Well, we're doing pretty good, too.
Love that video.
Are you actually on Ile de Madeleine?
In fact, I am, yes.
Wow, and how's the weather there today?
It's about 20 centimeters of snow, but other than that, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I can't wait to get out there one day. Did you happen to see our segment that we just ran on you by Sean Cookson and the Four East people on your excellent brewing?
Oh, by far the best video I've seen on Province Brands all year, but the year's young.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
we'll see how that goes. But I don't recommend trying to brew a beer from cannabis using the technique that Sean demonstrated. It will not work. You will not have any intoxicating effect, and you might scratch your throat. But I thought it was great. Thank you so much for filming that.
No, of course. So Dooma, tell us, what's the status? You're still building your plant down the road from here in Grimsby, are you?
We are, in fact, under construction on a 123,000 square foot facility in Grimsby, Ontario, which will be the world's first cannabis brewery. It has been a really exciting ride watching this thing come together. And right now we are raising capital to advance the construction of this through a brokered round with a Paradigm, and then simultaneous non-brokered round that we're sort of steering on our own.
Right.
And it's going great.
Okay, so some of our audience is watching in real time now, and so if they were clients of Paradigm Capital, they could participate in this private placement?
Absolutely, or any other broker could also subscribe through the brokers know how to get in touch with each other.
And so when are you going to go public?
It is upon the completion of this round. It's going pretty well. It took a little bit longer than we thought due to the slowdown in the market towards the end of the year, but now we have way more interest than we have room for, and it's just settling out the big check writers, and it should be done pretty soon. And it's not guaranteed, but again, the intent is to be public as soon as this round is complete.
Yeah. And how much money is being raised, Dooma?
At present, it's 30 million Canadian dollars, and as I mentioned, we have indications that far exceed that from where we're at right now.
Okay.
Well, that's fantastic. So when do you think you're going to start producing cannabis beer?
We are producing cannabis beer right now, but mostly for testing purposes. We're not able to sell it until October of 2019. We did announce a while ago that we will make a beer from hemp that contains alcohol, while all of our marijuana beers, of course, are alcohol-free. This hemp beer is something that we intend to have on the market sooner than October of 2019, ideally towards the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter of this year.
Well, fantastic. The progress towards the legalization of cannabis-infused beverages in Canada, is that on track at this point from what you understand? Are there any hiccups in this progress, and is there any chance it'll happen sooner?
There is no chance it will happen sooner. We now have confirmation from the government that beverages will be legal and will be for sale by October 17th of 2019. So it probably won't be a day before that, but we're all very excited for that day. What happened was about 3 weeks ago, the government released their draft regulations, and a lot of folks weren't sure if beverages would even be included in those draft regulations or if they would try to delay them, but they were not delayed. Beverages will be available at the same time as edibles, October 17th, 2019. The regulations, for the most part, were sensible, and we support them. There was one proposed regulation in particular, which we think is not in the interest of public health, which is a regulation that cannabis beverages cannot have any branding shared with alcohol companies and cannot have any elements in common with alcohol products. Of course, if you want to keep cannabis beverages out of the hands of children, our opinion is that you should associate it with alcohol and have it served in the same sort of bottles as alcohol and the same form factors as alcohol, because children are raised not to drink alcohol. It's been around for millennia, and they know what that bottle looks like, whether it's a beer bottle or a wine bottle. They know what those brands are, and so this proposed regulation to sort of disassociate cannabis adult beverages from alcoholic adult beverages seems to really fly in the face of public safety, but we'll see how it goes. And there's a 60-day comment period, and we'll certainly be commenting on that regulation.
I'm gonna comment right now. I think booze and drugs are a natural fit, personally.
You feel way better when you do both.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, one would argue that you have less alcohol consumption if you involve cannabis during the uptake of both, and you also have subsequently less of a hangover.
It's a way of cutting down your costs.
Plus, your driving gets so much better.
Jesus. Wait a minute now.
Oh, wait, was that my outside voice?
Driving.
Wow, I meant driving my tricycle in the backyard.
No, you're talking about hitting golf balls. Driving golf balls.
Exactly. Driving.
I hope that's all you're talking about.
So,
Yes, you should never drive under the influence of either.
Dooma, I interviewed a gentleman that I can't remember the name of the gentleman, but the sticker is BEER. And
we know these guys, Hill Street Brewing. They're fantastic.
No, the product I thought was phenomenal. And I mean, their market cap is not very big. Maybe as a company you should buy or something. Just throwing it out there.
We get along very well with those guys, and I'll take that under advisement.
There you go.
Great, Dooma. So you got a $30 million round that's going to close soon. That's fantastic. Congratulations on that. On track to pop our first beer together legally on October 17th this year, which is, even though this is only January, we know how time flies.
Time flies. You know it.
Fugit, tempo fugit, or whatever. What is it in Latin? The time flies. Dooma, I have one more question. I have. What's the price of the unit? What's the price of your?
Whoa, whose unit you talking about?
No.
Okay.
Talking about
thing about
the shares that were of the 30 million.
Right.
What's the price of the share?
How much a share?
$2.30 per share, and there's a half warrant at $2.85. So for every 2 shares you purchase, you have a warrant to purchase a third at $2.85 anytime in the next 2 years.
And how long is the warrant good for?
2 years.
And so what's the post-money valuation?
If you include all of the warrants, the post-money valuation would be about 112 million Canadian dollars. If you don't include the warrants, it's 95 million Canadian dollars.
Wow, nice work. Well, that's there's value creation 101 right there. When did you start raising money for this first?
We started Province Brands in September of 2016. We did a raise around that time. We raised $4.1 million, and it was at a $15 million pre-money valuation.
Wow. So all the shareholders are happy at this point, I guess.
Seem very happy, and we have a great relationship with our shareholders. We do send a weekly update to everyone who is a current shareholder of the company, and several of them are invited to participate in our weekly calls and really act as part of our team.
Yeah. Dooma, I've noticed that you've been starting to partner with some of the smaller craft brewers in Ontario. Is that part of your strategy going forward to capture market share across the country?
A huge part of our strategy is to partner with other companies, whether they're brewers or licensed producers or just about anybody who would like to make a cannabis beer with their brand on it. Now, we have announced 7 partnerships to date with licensed producers and breweries who would like to launch marijuana beers with their brand name on it, and to do it in the facility which we are constructing currently. We believe this will be the only facility in the world where you can brew a beer from cannabis in a legal way, and one of the few facilities in the world where you can make a beer infused with cannabis in a legal way. So it is a great location for folks to develop their own beers and to focus, and for us to co-pack beers for them. Now, these proposed regulations that came out just a few weeks ago do propose to make it challenging for alcohol companies to launch a beer with their brand name on it, which may make it difficult for some of our co-packing partners to go forward with their plans. Again, it is our hope that that particular proposed regulation will not make it into final regulations, and we are continuing to negotiate and close partnerships with other alcohol beer companies to help them bring their own cannabis beers to market one way or another.
Mm-hmm. So is the intention in your impression, in your assessment, is the intention on the part of the government to keep alcohol producers out of the cannabis game altogether?
My gut, my sense is that this is something that the government hasn't thought through very well because, again, it's not really in the interest of children. My gut is that this is something that the cannabis producers who have their own lobbying dollars are sort of forcing upon the government or strongly suggesting that the government, puts into law because the cannabis producers are scared. These big licensed producers, they don't want these big alcohol companies with their unlimited budgets coming in and competing with the cannabis companies that are out there. And I can understand just about any type of mechanism that the government may want to put in to protect our own homegrown industry. I think that's a great thing, but it shouldn't come at the expense of our children.
Oh, well said, Dooma. As usual, a pleasure to talk to you, Dooma, and we wish you all the best in your continued development of the brewery in Grimsby. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you,
Yep,
Dooma.
Happy New Year's.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. I love talking to Dooma.
I got to tell you, did you notice when I brought up the guy that was, you never interviewed him, but I interviewed him and I liked his beer. And
I did interview him once.
Okay.
I actually drank his beer.
That, and I said, with all this money they're going to have and the low market cap, he seemed to think that, hey, not a bad idea.
Now you're an advisor to titans of industry.
There you go. Pretty soon I'll be advising myself.
Don't take your own advice. Everybody knows
I don't take my own advice.
No way. What if you did?
I did. I have before.
But you've been making some money on your own advice, I've noticed.
You know what? Because I haven't been telling anybody.
Well, you told me.
You know that oil trade? It took an extra couple days, but it happened today.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you still good?
Oh, yeah. I'm out.
You're out. Oh, well, so you didn't make out as good as you could have.
I did okay, considering where it was this morning.
Oh, really?
You know, these things move so fast. They were $12.45, and they hit $15 an hour later.
Wow.
That's fast.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm not even going to talk about these things. But look at it.
Good. Stop talking. No, 8 more minutes of talking. Then it's drinking and talking. No drinking. I'm sick. Oh, wait, I need 4 fingers of whiskey in a hot tub. You know where there's a hot tub, Ed? I know where there's 4 fingers of whiskey. Hell, I know where there's 12 fingers of whiskey.
I know where there's hot air.
You're just cracking yourself up over there, aren't you?
I'm so funny. I love it when I make myself laugh.
Oh. Anyways.
It's hard to do.
Anyways, let's take a look at some of these stocks here.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a winner.
It's been a big day.
Big day.
Like if
if
you were depressed and suicidal going into the Christmas holidays, looking at cannabis stocks and stocks, bonds, and commodities, really everywhere.
Let's take a look at the index.
Well, look at this. Is my NDI working?
Okay, let's take a look.
My NDI's not even on.
My NDI is on.
Yeah. Pull up the index page for Midas Letter.
Okay, Midas Letter. Okay, let's go under cannabis.
Where's my NDI?
Where is?
Oh, it's gone. No wonder it can't work. It's not even. Oh, there it is.
Here it comes. She'll be coming round the mountain.
Oh, it's that time of the day. We're breaking out into song now. You know the Christmas season has come to an end, right, Ed? Which is the 12th day of Christmas, do you know?
My true love said to me.
Okay. What's going on here?
Okay.
Pull out.
Pull out?
You know what I mean. Want to see the whole page? Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, okay, look at this.
What?
Yeah, this is definitely a green candle here.
Yeah?
Look at this.
All on its own?
Look at this symbol. But it doesn't say how much it's up by.
No?
Oh, here it is. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, up 6.83% today, up 439 points.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Canna Beer growth, leading the field, up
Mine is?
Or cannabis up 31. Chronos.
Cut to mine.
Look at percentage change.
The only thing is that you've got a small screen, Ed. Look at mine. I got a big screen. Don't you wish you had a bigger screen? Don't you feel a little bit inferior with a little screen?
Yeah,
like
yeah. You know what? It's going to give me a complex. There's no question.
You're turning a little red.
Well, look at this.
What do the girls think of the smaller screen?
They don't like it.
They like a big screen, don't they? Well, I mean, what's not to like?
A big screen.
You can see so much more when you got a big screen, Ed.
A big screen maybe implies a big scream.
Whoa!
Just saying.
First good one of the year.
Yeah.
A big screen means a big scream.
Yeah.
That's just freaking hilarious.
Vertically branded. There we go.
Look at Canopy Growth is even threatening to break $40 again.
Organigram,
7.29% on the day. Organigram, now there's the big winner of the day. Up 17%.
0.15.
0.15.
Yeah.
17.15%.
But look at these names here. Look at the cast of characters. CanTrust finally got off that $6 level.
Yeah.
I know a guy who told me he loved it at $14.
Really?
Was it is it as high as 14? No, maybe it was 13.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the thing. This is where, we get proven right about all of our warnings about tax loss selling. I don't think this is the end of the cannabis market. This is tax loss selling.
Well, you know what? A guy explained it to me today. And it was my buddy Vikas from... Vikas said...
From Gravitas.
He said that the total marijuana market, whether it's covert or overt, okay, if you add the two, it's probably worldwide $50 to $80 billion of action. That's going to eventually go from illegal or illicit to licit. What do you think of that?
Well, that doesn't quite jive, because if you add up all of the currently overt, legitimate public companies that are trading, that's 110 billion.
Okay, well, maybe that's why we had a correction. So, see how it works.
It was a correction. I just gave you a correction.
But 90% of those companies
almost gave me a correction too.
Yeah, like a conniption.
I love it when
maybe it was more of a conniption they gave you.
Here's I'm having a correction. Oh God, the humor is just going downhill here. When was the last time you had a correction?
I can see, said the blind man.
I usually get a correction in the morning.
Yeah, you do.
Yes. And then one after breakfast.
Oh yeah.
No, okay, so let's look at some of the other indexes. Is that enough of your filth?
Ablution?
Ooh.
Oh, here. Thrice hybrid.
Now that the rumor of Coke buying or investing in ACB has been squashed, who do you think will be the top three beverage makers, and do you see Phyvita and Isodial being targets for larger companies? Okay, well, to answer that question, Phyvita and Isodial would have to have, that's a two-part question. First, let's talk about Phyvita and Isodial potentially being targets.
Can you answer both those questions at the same time?
Yes. Here's how.
How?
Yes.
Well done.
Not bad, eh?
Tersely stated.
Tersely, brevity is the key to valor.
The Spartans were known for their brevity. Did you know that?
That's because they could just mumble behind those shields.
They had a two-word vocabulary, yes and no.
No, there was a third one. Charge!
Spartan.
Will that be cash or charge X?
I think that there's a group called there's a word laconic, which means brevity of...
Laconic? No, I think isn't laconic much.
Laconic, not larconic.
Laconic, but it's similar to sardonic, no?
No. Well, let's take a look.
Aspects of sardonicism could be akin to laconicism. Oh my gosh! I just got a promotion from myself to sign up to my priceless
laconic
content
definition.
Newsletter. Have you signed up to the newsletter?
Whoa! Of a person's speech or style of writing using very few words.
Laconic. Okay, and
because it was a group of Spartans, eh? It was a special group of Spartan. Like if you were in Sparta and you lived in Laconic village, you really didn't talk.
You don't talk much.
Yeah.
Okay, now sardonic. Do you know what the definition is?
Obviously, I never came from that part of town.
Disdainfully or skeptically humorous, derisively mocking.
Bitter.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah,
I can be derisive, as if you call that a screen. That's sardonic. You call that a screen, Ed? I'll show you a screen.
Sardonic means cutting, biting.
disdainfully or skeptically humorous.
There you go.
Well, so not necessarily bitter. There's humor at the core of it.
Well, let's see what some of the...
Anyways, here's what we've got going on tomorrow.
Okay.
We don't know. We had didn't we have a sheet around here? We're going to promote some stuff that we got.
Your favorite host and co-host will be here.
Ed Milewski will be here tomorrow.
James West will be here.
Ed and James.
James and Ed.
The Talking Horse. We're probably going to drag Dimitri Sorias in here at some point this week.
Dimitri Sorias.
Exactly. We're going to have, who else are we going to have? We're going to have, we don't have our friend Charting Man Dan yet this week. He's still gallivanting around the planet somewhere. We've got to get... Oh, Deepak Anand is going to be here, formerly, not currently, but formerly, with Canada Compliance. Did you know that Deepak left Canada Compliance? So Deepak Anand is going to be joining us from Japan. Or are we going to Japan to join him there?
We should go to Japan.
Let's go to Japan. When you're big in Japan, I think I'm turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. Anyways, there's our show for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Come back then. We'll see you then. Bye!